You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Friday, 56. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 39 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning and welcome into a hump day edition of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904 always is the phone number. If you want to jump in on the show with us this morning, like going on, college basketball's hot and heavy. Alabama will take on Creighton Saturday. They've got a pretty good layoff Saturday, 7:30. I'm sure that'll be probably a pretty tough ticket, even though the students are heading out, I think maybe this week. But there was some SEC basketball last night, obviously up in New York in Madison Square Garden. I'm sure Dad will tell you about that. We want to thank Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. They always make this 7 o'clock hour possible, guys. And remember, when you're going to build the fence, the deck, the pergola, you want it to be 5-star. We like 5 stars around here in Tuscaloosa. So you want to use Yellowwood. Go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer closest to you. Download that app. We'll bring up something today. I want you to app message me or call the show after Dad does his deal. I'm going to ask Dad a particular question about the SEC and even Alabama for that matter. And I hope you will send us app messages about your feelings. I'm not saying I'm right, but you can either agree or disagree. I think earlier people did agree with me on the app message that Alabama should not have been in this playoff, and there's been a lot of whining about that. But if you want to email us, you can email us at wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. We got Chase behind the glass, as always, spinning the records. Good morning, Chase. How are you, sir? He gave me the salute. Good morning, Dad. How are you this morning?
I did okay. Hanging in there. Several things I'll go through fairly quickly. Tennessee beat Miami pretty badly, 75-62. And if you like to rank teams now, they're ranked number 1. And Arkansas got by Michigan 89-87, Arkansas. And Tennessee played that Jimmy V thing last night. So Tennessee, you have right now you have Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky, Alabama, and Florida in the top 10. If you like to keep up with things like that, certainly that'll change from time to time. Chip Lindsey, who was at Auburn and sometime at Troy, is going to be the new offensive coordinator at Michigan. Mike Schuler got moved up, which I'm glad of. Mike was a really good coach at Alabama that had no chance at all. Did a good job recruiting, much better than that people in Alabama realize. Mississippi State quarterback and SMU substitute quarterback are putting their name in the transfer portal, which you might be interested. Barry Odom, who did a good job at UNLV, is going to be the new coach at Purdue. The Alabama-Creighton game, if you maybe a big line on that, Creighton lost one of their very best players. I think he's out for the season, so I tried to find a line on it, couldn't. So Alabama, I'm sure it'll be a good game, but Alabama will be a little bit more of a favorite, I think, in that particular game. Let's see. Kentucky and Auburn, the two, they're not going anywhere at all. Lane Kiffin's upset about the transfer portal right before the bowl games. Next year, they're going to be a realignment of how they handle the games. They're going to 14. They're going to try to go to 14 teams in the playoffs. We'll see if that works. I laughed about. It sounds like I'm bragging, but it's funny. I saw Coach Bryant Nemeth's picture with Tony Nathan on Facebook a minute ago about getting him there and see him. So I thought Tony Nathan was going to be a basketball prospect, and I laugh about all it, but I get to see him occasionally. I got him a job between his junior and senior year. Lo and behold, he wasn't no basketball player. He was a football player. So anyway, he's a great player at Alabama. When you look at the, I tried to study. I always have. I've tried to study brackets and games. When you're one and done in something, I did that at the SEC tournament. Did NCAA. I've always looked at. I think Tennessee, on paper, probably has about as tough as you can get at Ohio State and then Oregon. I think that's pretty tough there. Georgia, in my opinion, has probably a little bit a better chance to get to the finals than anybody around. I lost my brackets. I had them in to go and lost them. SMU and Penn State. Boise State plays the winner of SMU and Penn State, which means that winner should, if they're as good as they say they are, should move on after the Boise State game. So if I had to pick somebody in the SEC that was going to go the furthest right now, I would probably pick Texas. I didn't put them in there. They're playing Clemson. I think they'll beat Clemson more than 11.5. Personally, that's what the line. I said the line was. So they may be in there, but I like Georgia's chances best of the SEC group to get to the final game. That's all I got.
All right. I like Greg Sankey, so I don't want this to come across as a bash of Greg Sankey, but a little bit it is. Chase, you're welcome to chime in. Tom, you guys that listen, I want y'all to think about this and tell me whether you think I'm right or wrong. I saw this yesterday, and I believe this. I think, Dad, that Greg Sankey and the SEC, and to a certain extent Alabama football, have become entitled. They think because we're the almighty SEC that we deserve to be in the playoff. Like you're going to leave us out of this playoff instead of taking responsibility when they don't get in and look back at it and say, you know what, we didn't do what we're supposed to do. But now that they didn't get in, you hear everybody, well, let's change the rules. Let's get the Big Ten and let's have our own playoff. People are complaining instead of looking in the mirror and saying, you know what, this is what we weren't a great football conference this year. It was good, but it wasn't great, to be quite honest with you. And there's a lot of teams losing games they shouldn't have lost. And I think they come across as entitled that we run college football, and I dare you not put 3 teams into the playoff. We're going to pick up our ball and go home. It's almost like a pouting mentality instead of us looking at it and say, guys, we got to get better. I think basketball did that. And you look at the results right now of SEC basketball, and they've been embarrassed. Instead of pouting and saying we're entitled to this, that, and the other, they changed some coaches. They figured out a way, and you look at SEC basketball now, and it's better than it's ever been as far as top to bottom. I think Alabama fans are like that as well. We're entitled. We deserve to be in this playoff. Even though we lost 3 conference games and SMU lost none, you should put us in ahead of them just because we are the SEC. Do you see that as well? With
I think, go ahead, Chase.
No, you're not. That was me. To say with the SEC, have we become entitled? Greg Sankey, has he become entitled that you owe us something because we're the SEC?
Well, I think they look at it from a money standpoint. I think they felt like that Alabama playing in a first game rather than SMU was really going to jack up the money because they had a chance to, if they were fortunate enough to win that game, move on against Notre Dame. And I think that's where it came into play. Big time money, a big publicity deal with SMU playing, whether they're good, bad, or none of the above. It just doesn't bring out quite the everybody want to watch it kind of deal. So I think it comes back to money.
But I think you come across, you didn't put us in. We're not going to play a tough schedule anymore. You come across entitled to me. I'm glad they didn't run to the money. They picked who they thought. I mean, they went undefeated in their conference. They lost in the championship game on the last 56-yard field goal. So I don't know. I just think we've become entitled. You know what? You know who I think didn't become entitled is Tennessee. Tennessee's football program had been down, and their whole athletic department. Look at it right now. Their basketball team is number one. Their baseball team just won the national championship, and their football team is in the college football playoff. I think they said, screw that. We got to get to work. We got to get better. And I'm afraid maybe Alabama football, SEC, has become entitled. Get to the Yellowwood hotline and get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Barry, good morning. Probably you're correct when you say that programs like Alabama, maybe they can become entitled. I don't disagree with that. The proof is in the pudding with Alabama, and I'm not going to go down the historical rhetoric road, but they do feel entitled to a certain degree, and I think you've seen some of that on display with the committee this year. They were trying to figure out a way to get Alabama in.
Yeah.
And because we're good, and we're good for TV. Now, I don't care what anybody else says, Alabama brings in ratings. And they're not the only one, but they're one of the main ones that does that. But now, to your point here, I think you're behind the times with your comment, and here's where you're behind the times. There's already been a meeting with the Big Ten and the SEC together in unison with each other with the playoff brain trust. Not the committee, but the people that run the playoff. And they're telling them, they say, look, we're bringing a lot to the table in college football with the Big Ten and the SEC. Nobody can deny that. No. That is a freaking fact that they bring a lot to the table. And Commissioner Sankey is right when he says, I want 4 teams in this playoff.
Then earn it.
And he's right.
Then earn it.
Exactly right.
No, earn it. Earn it. Now, I will say this, Tom. I will say this.
You're wrong.
They do need to meet about the format. The format is terrible. It's a terrible format.
They did. That's what the meeting was
about. That meeting's fine. But to say that I want 4 teams in, then 4 teams need to earn it. You don't just say they just don't give you 4 teams.
I agree. Yeah, this year you're right. You're right. But what my point is, and this is where you're missing the point. Not this year. Alabama has no more business being in the playoffs than there's a man in the moon. I agree with you. That crap they laid on the field in Oklahoma proves that. I don't care what anybody, Gary, whoever, they're wrong about that. And but here's what I'm saying. When all things are equal, and that's what they were speaking to in that meeting. When all things are equal, we want that fourth team in there.
But Tom, you said it. They were trying every way possible to put Alabama in.
That's right. This year, that's exactly right. They were. And Alabama they're the ones that shot themselves in the foot. They lost that 3rd game.
I think they were trying to put Ole Miss in, and then Ole Miss goes to Florida and lays an egg. They lay an egg against Kentucky. You can't lay eggs.
Now, here's where you are. This is where you are correct by 100%, maybe even 1,000%. You did it to your freaking self.
Yeah, Dad, comment?
I think that's right. I think the 2 losses that you can go back with we need to check our schedule. You don't need to check your schedule. You need to check the way you played. That's the key. I think they did it to themselves. I think it was a situation. I think. I wondered if the score. I wonder about both of you. I wonder if the score had been 10-7 in the Oklahoma game, and they had lost like that. Did the large score make it stick out more.
I think the large score and the effort. I honestly believe when people look at that, I know they do though. When they saw Jalen Milroe run and lumble out of bounds when he was trying, then I thought that spoke to the effort of the team to me, and it was played time and time again. I think if they won one of those games, Oklahoma or Vanderbilt, I think Alabama would have been in. Would you agree to that, Tom?
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. And that goes back to my point that I don't think you're giving me any credit on, and that is what Commissioner Sankey says and what the Big Ten says. When it comes down to it, we want to guarantee when all things are equal, if we're tied with SMU, if we're tied with the Mountain West or some of those other conferences, we want the benefit of the doubt. Because, hear me now, Barry, of what we bring to the table. TV ratings, money, great athletes, great programs. We want that spot. And that's what the argument is. Not this year, because the SEC, they tried to schedule and get everything to get 4 teams in. I don't care what nobody says. They purposely gave that schedule to Texas, and because they assumed Georgia and Alabama would get in no matter what. But they gave that to make sure Texas got in.
Who in the world thought Indiana would go 11-1? You know, that might happen. Right. Who would have thought Arizona State?
But
of course, only one team got in out of the Big 12 anyway, so that really doesn't matter that it's Arizona State. It could have been anybody. It wasn't like they were a multi-bid.
See, that's where the rub is. That's where the rub is. When it comes down to it, because of what they don't bring to the table, Sankey and I don't know who the commissioner of the Big Ten is, but that's what they're saying. When it comes down to it, we want them both out of the way. We don't care if they did win big conference.
Yeah, but when you're starting saying, well,
and that's to your point. That's to your point.
When I hear people say, well, if one of these teams gets blown out in the playoff, we're going to show the committee got it wrong. No, because Alabama got blown out at Oklahoma. I mean, you can get blown out at any time, so you can't say because a team got blown out in the playoffs, they made the wrong decision. You earn your way in. Right. If you go 9-0. Or whatever they were. In your league, Georgia Tech showed you that the ACC is not quite as bad as everybody thinks it is when they should have knocked off the almighty Georgia. Right at Georgia, Miami went to Florida. Yeah, it was early, and they dusted them up as well. So the other leagues are not quite as bad as everybody is the entitled SEC, and people want to make them sound.
Well, I mean, you got a point there. I'm not arguing that, but I am arguing what that meeting back earlier this year was about between these two major conferences, and I think I understand their argument because of what was leaked out and what I was able to garner out of reading newspaper articles. And but I mean, you've got some legitimate points there, but in the end, you've got to feed the cow that's bringing the lettuce to the situation.
But Tom, it was set up to get 4 in. They didn't take care of business.
Exactly right. You know what? In Birmingham, you know who they're pissed at? Alabama.
Yeah, they should be. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, but
the biggest problem you got is that y'all don't understand is that you got the personalities of a huge group, and the huge group went back and forth. That's the committee, arguing and discussing what should be done. I don't know if they ended up going to a final secret ballot vote or not, but it was a very, very tough call of committee people who are, coaches, administrators of different things. That is and it ended up in a very close call. So I disagree. I don't think it was a tough call. I think it was an easy call.
Because
of the way they ended.
You're dead wrong on that.
Okay, I just don't. Well, I didn't see it as a tough call, and nobody.
Maybe I've been a tough call.
Nobody like Kirk Herbstreit, all those guys that do football, they didn't see it as a tough call. Every one of them said you got to put SMU in. So I don't. I hear you, but I don't. When Alabama lost 3 league games and that game ended the way it did, I thought it was an easy call.
Well, I want to say one more time, it was a tough call because of the administrators that were in there, and money is big to them.
Yeah. All right. You guys can dial us up 205-342-9904 as the SEC become entitled. I do agree with Tom. You got to look at the format. The format's terrible. When they first did it, I'm sure they didn't realize that it would be like this and how bad it was.
I went over it. It's brutal.
Yeah. 2 Men in a Truck. They're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to make this a smooth move. It's local, out of town, out of state, no problem. Let the professionals handle it. They'll take great care of you and your stuff. Give them a call today for all your moving needs. 205-247-5050. That's 2 Men in a Truck. Movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Wednesday morning. Nick's Kids Foundation has honored 70 area educators at their annual Teacher Excellence Award Luncheon. Teachers from the Tuscaloosa City and County systems, as well as Fayette, Green, Hale, Perry, and Sumter school systems, received a certificate and a $500 gift card. Additional renderings of the new Sabin STEM Center were also released. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Towns Group Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're moving slow on Culver Road, noticing some delays, mostly around Stillman, or make that 31st Street. And that again is Culver Road at 31st Street and Virginia Circle. You've got some heaviness there. Now, in the meantime, we're looking good on 20.
Every game, all season, right here on your home for Alabama basketball. The Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather breezy and colder today, becoming partly to mostly sunny, the high 49. Mostly clear tonight, a freeze likely, the low 29. Tomorrow and Friday, lots of sunshine both days. The high tomorrow 51, the high Friday 56. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 39 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Want to know what's going on with the Crimson Tide? Download the Tide 100.9 app today.
Welcome back to the Inside the Locker Room. Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern. Make this 7 o'clock hour possible. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, Chase, we do have an app message coming, Q06 from Indianapolis. I read it. I'll let you read it over the air. I don't agree with Q06 on a lot of what he said here. Go ahead and read the app message, and I'll comment and let Dad comment about what he said.
Yes, sir. We got from Q06 down in Indianapolis, one of our regular callers. He said, I disagree, definitely not a down year. The portal has made the SEC teams even stronger. If you think Penn State, IU, Ohio State wins 8 games in the SEC, I will stop talking, ACC, Big 12, or whoever will not win. Alabama hate is real, and I live in Big 10 country. Ric Flair said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Best 12 teams are not playing the playoffs. Bottom line.
Well, obviously the best 12 teams are not playing the playoff, and that's due to the format. There's nothing you can do about that. Dad, I think it was a down year in the SEC. All right, let's look at the teams. Mississippi State, 0-8. Kentucky, 1-7. Would you say Kentucky was a disappointment? Yes.
They didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Auburn, 2-6. Would you say Auburn was a disappointment? I would say absolutely. Oklahoma, 2-6. Vanderbilt, we give them a lot of credit. They were probably a little bit better than people think. But at the end of the day, they were 6-6 and 3-5. But I will say they were better. Was Arkansas better than you anticipated? There, they were 3-5 in the SEC. Was Arkansas better than you thought, or about the same, or worse?
Probably a little worse.
Yeah.
With Green coming in as quarterback.
Florida, I would say Florida with their schedule probably end up being a little better than people think. Would you agree?
I would think so, yeah.
Missouri, I think Missouri's just okay. I watched them play here. Obviously, they were down their quarterback. They were probably about what you expected. Ole Miss was 5-3.
No, they're a disappointment completely.
Yeah. So why is LSU? LSU's a disappointment. South Carolina, give them credit. 5-3, won every game since they left Tuscaloosa. Alabama, disappointment. Tennessee, 6-2. They were probably about what you thought, to be quite honest with you. Nothing great, nothing bad. They took care of business. Georgia, I don't think that was a vintage Georgia team. Do you, Dad? I think it's a good team. It's not a great team.
No, it's not the team of the past.
And then you have Texas, and then Texas is the one that's hard to know because their schedule was so easy. And then Alabama. They were a disappointment based on what you thought they would be, right? They weren't. So why would QO6 Chase say the SEC is not down? Just about every team I named, with the exception of South Carolina, underachieved, in my opinion. So
yeah, I think that's probably true. I think they were, competitive with each other. The league was, fairly competitive, a little bit competitive with each other in certain games. But I don't know that it was certainly the best year for the SEC.
When he says Alabama hate is real, I live in Big Ten country. Yeah, it's. I agree with Alabama hate it because they always find a way to try to get Alabama in the playoff, and that's why they get mad. They were trying to put them in this year, and they got burned because of how close that ACC championship game was. So that makes the Big Ten people mad. I do think the hate is real.
I think if we were within the committee room, we'd have a little bit. I think the committee room was looking at the money more than anything else. I don't know that. I think they had a really big stink over what they're going to do, and I would agree that what shouldn't have been a big stink. SMU should have gone on in, but. I think it was, from what I can find out from a couple of people, it was a really big argument and mess before they came out with SMU.
I don't see the committee worried about the money as much as maybe the pressure from ESPN saying we've paid X number of dollars for all this and we need some marquee matchups.
They're answering to ESPN's exactly right. Behind the scenes, ESPN is a factor in trying to sell these people who have a vote, and they're athletic director or whatever, and they push that to try to get an Alabama in there. No doubt about that.
Yeah, so I think they tried to set it up. So I disagree, QO6. I appreciate the message, but I don't think the portal did make some teams stronger. I do agree to that, but as far as a really great team in the SEC, I don't see it. I don't think this, and maybe you're saying that's what evened it out, and that's why a 6-6 Oklahoma team can beat an Alabama, and so we'll see. All right, good. He's calling in. All right, let's get to the Yellowwood hotline, and we'll get QO6 in. Good morning. How are you?
Barry.
Yes, sir.
If you looked at the Big Ten, Purdue 0-9, Maryland 1-8, Northwestern 2-7.
Well, you said the SEC though. You said the SEC. You didn't say the Big Ten.
No. You're saying entitled. Let's talk about Big Ten.
Okay.
We're not just talking. Even when you think about basketball, entitled up here, the Big Ten goes 16-6, 16-16. They're going to try to find a way to get some of these IUs and Michigans in, and it's. This year, yes, you might have a few points that the SEC has some teams, but it's hard-nosed football. These games are all close. Up here, they're blowouts. These teams are not good against each other. ACC's not good. You let Clemson, 9-3 team, go over here and they play SMU, who's lost one game. They win, and now they got the glory because they came back at the end. You don't have the best 12 teams in this year.
No, you don't, but
actually,
that's the format.
I would fight more for South Carolina than I would for Alabama. I'd fight more for Mississippi than I would for Alabama. But those teams are playing good football right now, and they got told to stay at home. So I just don't.
Ole Miss is not.
Well, I tell you what, Coach Sanders right now, nobody would want to play Florida. Florida's running the ball and beating people off and running the ball.
Florida's better. We give them credit for being Ole Miss, falling on your face prior to that with Kentucky. and then they go down to a team where they're supposed to win, regardless of whether Florida's better or not, and they're not ready to play.
Well, QO6, but Indiana and those people, at least they handled their business. Like they played I agree, the Big Ten top to bottom is not good. Purdue's not good. Maryland was bad. Northwestern, even Wisconsin, Alabama went to Wisconsin. Of course, their quarterback did get hurt in that particular game. But, you can't.
I'm sorry, Barry. I got riled up. I live up here, and IU fans walk around with all their jackets, their shirts on.
But let them have a little glory. They're 11-1.
Beating Alabama. We're finally doing great. We're finally doing good. The hate is so real. I'm like my local radio station, Barry and Wimp, bad mouth in the Big Ten, Alabama. I have to hear this every day in Big Ten country.
How much will Notre Dame beat them?
All right, Notre Dame will probably beat them only by about 14 because it's going to be played in the cold up there. And by the way, cheap tickets are going for $900 for that game. How much you think the tickets would have went for if it had been Alabama playing that game? $1,700, $1,600.
Really?
It's all about making money.
That ticket, that's not a tough ticket? I thought that would be like an impossible ticket to get.
Oh, I looked it up to see what these IU folks up here are spending money. They don't care how much it costs.
Yeah.
And they're going to probably be heartbroken. I mean, I don't even agree with Notre Dame making it this year because they don't play anybody conference related.
But Barry,
I'm sorry. You got me riled, baby. You got me riled.
But I try
You got me riled. It's 23 degrees. I'm cold, and you just said Alabama.
But I try to be,
with you two guys, we just need to go to a 14 playoff.
But I just try to, like people, QO6, they get mad at Greg McElroy. Like Greg McElroy has to call it like he sees it. He can't get towards Alabama's side. I had a guy text me yesterday.
What about Mark Ingram? Mark Ingram? He's slanted. He goes the other direction. He stays with Alabama. He knows where the big.
Yeah, but he doesn't have Mark Ingram don't have the voice that McElroy. He's not on the platform that McElroy is on, and so somehow
he's getting close, man.
I hope he gets there, but it's not this. I mean, McElroy's up there calling the.
All right, Barry. I won't let you go, man. You got me. You do have a decent argument about from top to bottom, but at the end, I mean, both Big Ten got 4 teams in. Alabama got 3 teams in. Did Alabama fall on their face against Oklahoma? Yes, they did.
Answer me this. Has Greg Sankey and even the Alabama fan and the SEC become entitled? Have they become entitled a little bit? Like, you owe us something instead of earning it. Do you see that?
All right, Barry. Let me tell you. I'm wearing all this Alabama gear right now. And IU, so yeah, we're entitled, baby. We're entitled. Let us in the game, baby. We're entitled.
Hey, I don't mind a homer. I don't mind a homer.
Hey, I'm a homer, man. Okay, you got me riled though. I'm gonna go back in this cold weather. Love this show.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks for letting me preach my lesson back.
I'm glad.
Go hit some golf balls.
Yeah, in the cold. Ooh, that was
not in 23-degree weather.
Indianapolis is the coldest place I've ever been. That wind. Woo. Thank you, Q06. All right, we'll get to break here. Phone lines are back up at 205-342-9904. Good. If I round him up, that means, but I believe that. So, I mean, and we are an Alabama show. Well, we're in Tuscaloosa, but we try to, unlike some of the other shows, Chase, we try to call it like we see it and not just put on our Alabama glasses. So when we get back, Dad, I want you to tell me what has happened with the Tennessee athletic department to where they are knocking it out of the park. We're number 1 in baseball, currently ranked number 1 in basketball, and football's in the college football playoffs. They're doing something right over there. You listen to Tide 100.9 is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looks like we found some trouble in Northport, Highway 43 southbound near McFarland Boulevard. Do watch out for this fender bender. That's got traffic a little on the heavier side. And then we are also starting to beef up a bit on 359. Not too much, but 359 on the southbound lanes to Skyland Boulevard. And this is pretty much normal traffic flows. As you travel on McFarland and Lurleen Wallace, that intersection still pretty much flowing at posted speed. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Tammy Thomas.
road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Jesus was right. It is more blessed to give than receive. Wish the next person you see a very Merry Christmas from Taco Casa.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Appreciate Q06 and I appreciate him calling. I don't disagree with the Big Ten. If I lived over in Big Ten country, I'd want to throw up too, because there are some pitiful teams on the back end of that conference. We don't think Yellowwood, pressure treated pine from Great Southern. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. Dad, what's going on up in Knoxville? We've had
what started the whole thing was that the athletic directors that they got in there never worked. Never were able to be the right kind of athletic directors. The president and the athletic directors didn't meet. And finally, what's his name? The new athletic director got in there. I can't call his name now, but he's good.
Came from
it's Duke.
He came from the school in Florida, Central Florida, yeah.
And so he comes in there, and they give him the authority to do what he wants to. But when he goes back and hires his coach,
Danny White, we're talking about Danny White.
The guy, he goes back and hires the coach that coached for him. Everybody went lower than a mole. Here's a guy that had been fired at Missouri, and had been down there with him. And he just all the world he's doing is just bringing somebody in here just to fill the gap. He don't know. Well, it just so happened that was incorrect. The guy comes in there with a wide open offense, and the ability to get coaches to help them play better defensively, even though they're offensively minded. And when they did that, they got the money coming in. They got the fans coming in. He turns around and gets a baseball coach that is controversial. That's perfect. Controversial enough to where people will go and see what happens. The basketball team, gets Rick Barnes, has Rick Barnes, and he's done a good job in the past. So it's what they have in the people that surround the athletic director that's made them. You start with the football coach because he makes the money, and when you've been as low as Tennessee has been, and on the cuff of being in the bottom part of the SEC, and they jump all the way up there and they throw it a lot, and the style is to where not only the winning makes you want to come, but the way they play makes you want to come. It is excellent. It's because they got money, and the one thing that you have to do in the SEC is this for basketball overall is that you have to have athletic directors who are willing to give your basketball coach money to compete in basketball. If you got an athletic director that just wants them to spend in football, you're dead. But if you got an athletic director who's willing to pay, especially if they hired the coach, sometimes that's right, sometimes that's wrong. But to answer your question, this athletic director came in and changed things.
Yeah, they had a lot of change. Danny White, obviously, who we're talking about, who came from Central Florida. Tony Vitello, wow. And now they're building everything right around the stadium there. They've upgraded the stadium. Rick Barnes probably was a little bit of a controversial hire, although he had done really well at Texas. People thought he was on his way to retirement. He's gone in there and brought a mentality of being tough and work ethic and hard work and hard nose. And I'm sorry.
Yeah. If you pick a team that's gone from, and you made a point of talking about this today, if you pick a team towards the bottom or in the middle or quit buying their tickets or not doing what they need to do, you have picked Tennessee. If you now want to pick a team that has gone from where they were to where they are, you've got to pick Tennessee. They're, I know Texas is good and that kind of stuff. That's new to the league, but Tennessee is the one who's revised what they have been able to do, and of course they're in the playoff because they beat Alabama.
Yeah, I don't think the committee messed up on Alabama, but I think they did mess up, like with the seeding. Tennessee should have a home game. They shouldn't be 9. You give Ohio State a home game, the Big Ten a home game there. So QL6, I agree. Penn State, they don't deserve a 5. Georgia got a 2, but they had to win the SEC to do that, the championship there. So I would say the seeding part there. If I was a Tennessee fan, I would be screaming.
You're going to play Ohio State, and then you're going to play Oregon.
Yeah, I would be screaming.
That's the reason I picked Tennessee to go out first, probably, and for Georgia to have the best opportunity. And I don't know. It's just when you study it on paper. Now, when they start playing, you may say, "Crap, Tennessee went through it, and Georgia got beat the first game," because this is not quite the Georgia team it has been. But if you look at it, and if you're, betting, I'm not betting, but looking at it, trying to decide, you're saying to yourself, Tennessee will be 88 out the gate quick. Georgia will be in there. I personally think, I don't think you agree. I know what Doug Bell does. I think the Texas Clemson game is a mismatch.
And really, the seeding was wrong there. If Clemson just beat SMU, then Clemson should be 11 and SMU should be 12. You know who SMU be playing if they were 12? Texas. Well, and Texas probably said, we ain't no way you're going to make us play SMU. Keep them at 11. Keep them at 11. Because they just beat them. So how could they be ranked ahead of them at 11 and 12? You would just have, if you flip that right there, you'd have Clemson going to Penn State and SMU taking on Texas.
Well, you've got so cotton-picking many feelings. Everybody on the committee, Barry, has something to do to try to help themselves when they go back home. They just do. If they're an athletic director, assistant athletic director, or whatever they are, they're trying to do something to help themselves when they go back home. And this is where the big argument comes as far as Boise State. Can Boise State play in this 12 thing? Can they play, Barry? You think good enough?
Who's that?
Boise State.
I don't know. I don't know. But I do think you got to let one team outside of the Power Four in the playoff.
You do have to let one in, but you have to, that's all you need to let in, because you end up screwing up the whole thing.
Yeah, so they're the one. All right, get to the Yellowwood Hotline, get Jason in. Good morning, Jason.
Barry, what's up, man?
Hey, bud.
How are y'all?
Good. How are you?
Man, it's cold. It's gonna be cold in January, blowing leaves on Savannah. Man, appreciate that, Lane. Listen, I'm gonna say this, which y'all been touching on a little bit. The CFP. Let me be full disclosure. I don't think Bama deserves it. Okay, they did that. They did it to themselves. But I believe this, and y'all might laugh. I think at halftime of that ACC championship, I think the committee was like, we got this because Clemson's blowing these guys out, and we can justify putting Alabama in. And I believe SMU literally played themselves back into the playoff by the way that game ended.
Oh, no doubt. I think SMU
y'all believe that?
Yeah, I think SMU was out at halftime. And then the way the game, and then they came, and I think the coach had kind of given up. He said, "Hey, we're going to keep fighting, but we got a long way to go." And lo and behold, they tie it, and then, of course, we know what happened from there. But I think if that game kept going that direction, SMU would have been out and Alabama in. But give them credit, that quarterback for SMU is good.
Yeah, and look, but I don't like, and y'all, I was listening to y'all on hold. Y'all just touched on this. I don't like the seeding or the format, and I don't like Arizona State and Boise getting the first round bye. That's just me.
No, that's bad. Bad format. I don't know why they signed off. And I think it ended up being worse than what they actually thought. Terrible format. Look, a third grader put it together. So,
y'all have a good one.
All right, buddy. Thank you. All right, Jason. All right, get back to the Yellowwood Hotline. Get Digger in. Good morning, Digger.
Good put this thing together?
Digger, you didn't want none of that. You didn't want none of SMU.
Put it together, Digger.
You didn't want SMU, Digger.
Huh?
You were scared.
Who put this thing together? And that's what I'm
you're
asking.
You're going to beat Clemson 25.
Answer me. I don't know who put it together. Who did? Who signed off on this
It
thing?
was Sankey.
Yeah, but I
It was
think that
Sankey and that ass clown Hancock.
Bill
Come
Hancock.
on, what is
yeah.
it with you guys? Who put this thing together? They had covert meetings, and they had Hancock and Sankey put this format together. And y'all are belly aching about this.
Well, I
now.
think they had to have all the signatures, so they had to include everybody. And then they had to. Everybody thought they were just trying to do it for the SEC and the Big Ten. So then they had to figure out a way to make everybody happy, and it backfired on them, Digger.
Because they wanted 4. They wanted 4, and they didn't get 4.
That's right.
You had a down year in the SEC. Come on, you got to be real about that. Don't you agree?
That's what I just said with QO6. He told me it was.
And I'm just saying.
Yeah, I thought it was a down year in the SEC. I don't know how good Texas is.
They're better than Clemson.
Hey, you know, y'all complain about that. Okay, this was the first SEC championship that went into overtime. Don't you think we put some kind of effort in it? I mean,
Digger,
come on.
I'm not complaining. I'm saying the SEC's entitled. I'm not defending the SEC.
I know. I get it. But look, and this is the reason why I called. This all-SEC team is a joke. Are you kidding me?
I hadn't even
The
looked
number
at it.
one defense in the country and the number one defense in the conference, and we only got 3 players? 1 on the first team? Come on.
I hadn't even looked.
That's
And then
politics.
our best, look, we got the highest graded defensive back.
Hey, the
Okay.
SIDs vote for that for the coaches.
Yeah, that's my problem. It was the coaches.
It was
Holy
the SIDs
cow.
that vote for them.
Was that the media or the coaches poll? I didn't even see it.
It's the coaches that vote these players in.
Yeah.
On the all SEC.
Well,
I get why we didn't have much on the offense because it would really screwed up and they were playing with their food all season long. Okay, but that defense cleaned their plate. Okay, that defense did an effort.
Good.
It was an effort. Okay, and you got Taft, who is a senior, highest rated safety, and he graded out as the 3rd best safety. He doesn't even make the all-SEC team. Not first, not second, not third. Okay?
Digger, let me ask you
It's a
this.
joke.
Let me ask you this, Digger. Which would have been a tougher ticket there? Texas and Clemson or Texas and SMU?
What do you mean a tougher ticket?
Same.
To get, like, which would have been the more expensive ticket? Harder to get? Texas SMU or Texas Clemson?
It would be the same.
Okay.
I promise you, man.
I don't know. I think
Listen,
those,
I don't know what.
I think those SMU people would have drove the price up, Digger, more than Clemson
I'm
people.
not. Hey, listen, I'm telling you, we got a major problem on our hands, and it's not just the state of Texas. ACC's going to feel it. Okay, they're a snake in the grass. Watch it all flare up again like in the 70s and 80s. They can't help themselves. Okay, I promise you that. I promise you that. They, I already see little examples of it taking place, okay? They could care less what the rest of the country thinks. They're in the playoffs, and they're going to they're going to go Lane Kiffin on us. They're going to get all kinds of players, and they're going to pay, and it's going to drive the market price up on the players and so forth.
That's why I
But
said that. Well,
Really. And listen, real quick, I got to say this because I'm hearing all this complaining for the past 3 days. Okay? This was Sankey, okay? And you got to understand, he set this whole thing up and it backfired on him. And I get it. I understand the automatic bids on the conference champion, but they were trying to reward people who won their conference and they get a seating now.
yeah.
What you got to do from here on out, tell me what you think about this, because they had this banquet in Las Vegas last night. You know Texas and Georgia are going to be in the playoffs. What's wrong with getting the third and fourth team in the conference to play that conference championship and get the fourth team in?
No.
Don't you think he would be doing that?
No.
So in this case, it would have been Ole Miss and Alabama.
You cannot orchestrate it to try to get 4 in. You got to play your way in, not orchestrate it, Digger. Come on.
Well, y'all doing it nowadays.
I'm not. I'm saying they're acting entitled. They're acting entitled. They only deserve 3. If anybody deserved to be in, it was probably South Carolina, based on how they were playing at the end on the eye test. But you couldn't do that because they lost to Alabama and Ole Miss. So there it is.
One more thing, and I'll get off the phone. The cavalry's already coming. Ted Cruz, who's head of commerce at the Fed, he's going to set up. He said the law is already in place. He says he's already got an antitrust bill set up for college football, and he's making it a priority. Tuberville and Saban couldn't do it. Leave it up to Ted Cruz and the University of Texas to set this whole thing up to where college football is going to have an antitrust law.
There you go.
Very interesting.
There
Very
it is.
interesting.
Thank you, Digger.
Later.
All right, and that kid evidently that went to BYU yesterday, the word is $7 million is what BYU paid him. $7 million for 1 year. They said he had already signed, and people were still recruiting him. He didn't tell them. They were still wasting money recruiting him. So he and his dad on First Take. First Take is the worst show on TV. And
a basketball player?
Yeah, $7 million.
Yeah.
$7
million for a basketball player for 1 year?
Yeah, go to BYU. Yeah.
I know, and he went to BYU.
Yeah, $7 million. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looks like we found some trouble in Northport, Highway 43 southbound near McFarland Boulevard. Do watch out for this fender bender. Now it's got traffic a little on the heavier side. And then we are also starting to beef up a bit on 359. Not too much, but 359 on the southbound lanes to Skyland Boulevard. And this is pretty much normal traffic flows. As you travel on McFarland and Lurleen Wallace, that intersection still pretty much flowing at posted speed. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Tammy Thomas.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Steve DeSager.
2 games in the NBA Cup quarterfinals. Milwaukee beat Orlando 114-109. Giannis Antetokounmpo with 37 points. Then at Oklahoma City, the Thunder eliminated Dallas 118-104. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 39 points. The 2 other quarterfinals are on Wednesday. Kawhi Leonard practiced with the Clippers for the first time this season after knee inflammation. 2 games in men's college basketball at Madison Square Garden. Number 1 Tennessee stayed undefeated, beating Miami 75-62. Then Arkansas came back to upset number 14 Michigan 89-87. Illinois down number 20 ranked Wisconsin 86-80. In an NHL late game, Minnesota won in a shootout at Utah. Earlier, Toronto came
for 15% off your first purchase. Love it or return it for free. That's LUME deodorant.com, code 500 to save 15% today.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather breezy and colder today, becoming partly to mostly sunny, the high 49. Mostly clear tonight, a freeze likely, the low 29. Tomorrow and Friday, lots of sunshine both days. The high tomorrow 51, the high Friday 56. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 39 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker. Andrew Kniffer, he's my Allstate insurance agent. Let him become yours out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. Give Andrew and his staff a call. They'll take absolutely great care of you. They do it for me. They also have a Facebook page called Andrew Kniffer Allstate Insurance. Get by there today and tell them that Wimp and Barry sent you 205-722-9201. All right, get to the Andrew Kniffer hotline. Get Justin Troll in. Talk a little Tuscaloosa Toyota. Good morning, Justin. How are you?
Hey, Justin. I'm doing great. How are y'all?
We're good. We're good. Sorry about last week. We just had everything shut down on Chase right there. So we're happy to have you back this week, though. Tell us what's going on down on Skyland Boulevard at Tuscaloosa Toyota.
Man, everything's great. We got so much inventory. That's the thing. Well over 100 and something used cars, and just a variety of so many different things. And then no issues on the new car side with pumping in a lot of volume. So there's models for every single thing. I think we have 8 Land Cruisers in stock, and we've been selling those. When you Barry, the way it works, the reason that you get a lot of cars is because you sell a lot of cars. So we've been selling so many Land Cruisers that now we can't sell enough to keep up with what they're sending us. So we have Land Cruisers in stock right now, so you can come drive, because most of those vehicles get bought before they get there, so you don't have the opportunity. So now we've got a bunch of them in stock. So if you want to see something that you can buy, like a Land Cruiser, you're talking about something that used to be $90-something thousand. You can buy the 6 of the ones we have in stock right now, and we've got them discounted. And you can buy those in the 50s. A Toyota Land Cruiser, one of the best off-road utility vehicles you could possibly buy. And you can see it right now at the lot, and you can find it right there at Tuscaloosa Toyota.
Tell us about some of the features on that Land Cruiser, Just. Those are beautiful, beautiful vehicles.
Well, one of the things, and a lot of people just like the ride, the comfort and convenience, but man, you want to talk about something that's powerful off-road with all the crawl dynamics, and just, I could get into a whole bunch of different things about the way that thing can go off-road. But you would think with something that's geared to do anything you would want it to do, I wouldn't cross the river in it, but I would do about anything off-road. And you would think something that's like that and built like that and designed wouldn't have the greatest ride on the road. You'd never know it when you ride that vehicle on the highway. It is one of the nicest vehicles that you will ever get in. Everybody knows that, the Toyota Land Cruiser, and you can buy that thing. You can buy it, listen to this, you can buy it, taxes, title, everything in the 50s out the door right now, and we've got them in stock at Tuscaloosa Toyota.
I was thinking about you last weekend when they're in the Auburn game. We were setting up at the on the quad, and so I took Jenny's brother's truck and went to Parker. Well, it was a Tundra. Man, that thing was nice. He had a little box plugged into that thing, and he was playing ESPN on the console. I know you're not supposed to watch TV when you drive, but the bells and whistles on that Tundra were absolute. Tell me a little bit about this Tundra. I was intrigued driving that truck.
Hey, listen, you'll find this funny because you know the guy real well. One of my buddies, Brett Wilkin, the Taco Casa guys. He's one of your buddies out there at Northridge. So he bought one of the first Tundras from me that I sold back when they redesigned in 2022. And I'd not even looked into it. And a few days later, he calls me and he's like, man, I'm watching live. He sends me a video. And just so happens when he sends a video, a Toyota commercial comes on. He's watching live TV while he's sitting there waiting on. He had one of his kids was doing something. He was sitting in the car as a doctor's appointment or whatnot. He was watching live TV inside his Tundra. You can do so many different things with that Tundra. That thing is just ridiculously nice. And I'll tell you one of the things that's so. Toyota's bread and butter is the Camry, the RAV4. We sell just tons of those. So Toyota's not had to rely on the Ford lineup where all they do sell is trucks and their SUVs and cars are But, the Tundra has taken over some of the market, man, and it is so fun to be able to sell that truck. We put levels on them and tires, and everybody just loves them. But that Tundra's taken over some of the market, and it's so fun to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to get out. I'm not going to be in trouble if I'm late.
You're fine.
Service.
It's all good.
Justin, why do y'all do that? Not y'all, the car industry. Now, these vehicles are made so great, but not Tuscaloosa Toyota. But if you go somewhere and you get your oil change, they'll put 3,000 miles on there. You can get more than 3,000 miles on an oil change, can't you, Joe?
Well,
you get about 8, right?
And so that's incorrect. And, a lot of people want you to come back sooner than you need to. And I tell you what, it's so funny, and my dad's the same way, man. When that light comes on, it's like I've got to run every red light to get there before something blows up. And it's just not – that's just – any of y'all listening out there right now, if you're within 3 miles from needing your oil change, you don't have to run red lights to get it. I mean, that is not the biggest deal in the world. So, right now with all the new cars, especially the ones that we sell from Toyota, it's actually easier because these cars come with synthetic oil, and Toyota recommends that you get your oil change, hear me on this, once a year or every 10,000 miles. If you've got you're running synthetic. If you're running synthetic oil and somebody's telling you to do it every 3,000 miles, you're getting taken advantage of.
You can go longer than 10,000.
Well,
you can. But so Toyota does recommend every 10,000 miles or once a year. But everybody understand that when your light comes on or when you're right at the mileage, it is okay to go over a few miles. That is not a big deal.
Yeah, but people. Every time you get that sticker, 3,000, and Jenny's like, oh, my gosh, I'm like 500 miles. But, baby, you're fine. You're fine. Because she's wanting me to go. She's wanting me to go.
Yeah. I didn't know the 3,000-mile deal was still getting people. I thought that was way back in the day.
It's still
it's still going on.
It's still
there.
So, there you go, listeners. We just saved you some money today.
Hey, how are we on what's our record on the blue plate this year?
9-7.
That's good. I mean, I say this. I'm seriously. Like I would tell you, Barry, you know this. We have a good relationship. I'm just telling you that 9-7, and I heard Doug Bell's record. I don't know what flipped for Doug, but I'll say this: if you have a winning record with the way these games and the way these teams not knowing if they're going to come out and play well, that is. To be 9-7, I commend you. That is unbelievable.
Come on, Justin, don't brag on 9-7.
Listen, Barry, can you honestly say that you know how a team's going to perform week to week?
Brag on
a game is unbelievable.
9-7. That's like kissing your sister. You basically broke even.
You made money. If it's 9-7, you made money.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
That juice you lost on those 7. You're probably about even, right,
Justin? You made money. If you won on 9, lost on 7, you made money.
Justin,
look, if you are running above water on that with the way these teams perform week to week, that is and even in the playoffs, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know which direction to go with these players.
Hey, Justin, I'm thinking. No, don't mean I'm going to do it. I'm thinking about taking Texas and giving Clemson 11.5.
Well, we had a guy.
I wouldn't bet on.
We had a guy message us yesterday wanting to know where you going to. And that blue plate's brought to you by Chuck Norwood, and I'll tell you more about Chuck. But he's wanting to know are you going to blue plate the Army-Navy game this weekend? He was trying to give you a tip on it. Are you going to?
I'll take a tip. What is it?
I got to go back and look to see who he said.
The only tip I know is put your socks on before your shoes.
There you go.
It's sad that a team is in the playoffs, and I watch a lot of NFL. I love the NFL. I'm a huge Green Bay Packers fan, like huge. But, I mean, to watch a team be a 12-point underdog in the playoffs, that team should not be in the playoffs. That's just the bottom
Justin,
line.
No,
you don't like my Clemson, Texas bet?
Yes, I like your pick for sure. Yeah, they're not. I think you said Texas is going to cover the 12, right?
Yeah, I think I haven't looked at it yet, but that's what I'm looking at. I can't get all the lines yet.
Oh, they're all on there. All those lines are on there.
For all the people that think that Alabama's not had a good year and bad, Clemson's on it. That yes, they cover that 12 or 11 or whatever it is. I expect that line to go up. That's an easy one.
Really?
Yeah, Barry, have you watched Clemson? Have you watched Clemson play for a half?
I watched Clemson. Yeah. I thought Clemson played well against SMU.
They can't got the pass defense against Clemson. Texas.
Barry, did you watch the second half?
Well, yeah, but you played 2 halves. I mean, that quarterback for for SMU is a lot better than that quarterback from Texas.
Well,
I don't buy that.
Know.
Yeah,
I don't want none of that. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, that quarterback for Texas, they might as well get Arch Manning in there.
That's not correct.
Yeah, so anyway. All right, SMU, and there's bowl games before that. Indiana, Notre Dame.
Where are these? Where can you get these?
Just go to this.
What a boring playoff game.
How do you get them, man?
You just got to go to ESPN and go to the bowls, and all the bowls will come up with scores, and then just click on the bowls. All right, Justin, get out and sell some cars, man. I'm thinking about that Tundra.
Y'all have a great day, and we'll keep you up to speed next week. We're rolling. We're right around 100 cars sold already, so I'll give you an update next week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get to break here. We'll get Bill Cameron in. You listen to Tide 100.9 SC home of Alabama Sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looking at heavy traffic on 43 in the southbound direction, moving on to McFarland Boulevard. It looks like we are still dealing with the remnants of that crash, and you got to back up to Flatwoods Road. And then we've also got Lurleen Wallace delays on the southbound hookup to University Boulevard. That's got a long line of brake lights taking you back to
North and Northport, just before Carroll's Creek Baptist Church. Sponsored by Hicks Taxidermy, Mary's Travel Center, North River Outdoors, and Crimson Pride Hunting and Fishing.
Crimson Tide Today is presented on Tide 100.9, WTBC 1230 by BMW of Tuscaloosa. Online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by Conecuh Sausage, a true Southern flavor since 1947, and the official smoked sausage of the Crimson Tide. Order online at ConecuhSausage.com. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. On Monday night, we hosted Hey Coach at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa as Nate Oates caught up with the voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart.
Yeah, it was a little bit better one to go do it in their home arena. You know, it's a storied program, a lot of tradition, a lot of big games have gone on in that arena, so it was pretty cool to go. You know, I thought our guys, that was the best game I think we'd played all year. I think we offensively we did a pretty good job. You know, we ended up having a few too many turnovers, but for a lot of the game, I thought we kept the turnovers low. We moved the ball really well. You know, Sears ended up with 7 assists. I thought that was his best game offensively. You know, I thought he got the ball moving. So, and defensively, you know, we gave up too much in transition, but in the half court, we held him to a 0.6.
I'll have more in a moment.
Favorite jeans, favorite shirt. Got Conecuh sausage and I'm firing it up. Yeah, everybody knows it's how I get my grill on. You can smell that flavor up and down the road. It's a little taste of heaven, and everybody knows. It's how I get my grill on. Conecuh sausage. It's just a little taste of heaven.
Join us tomorrow for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, streaming live at 2 p.m. Central on all CTSN social media platforms. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Conecuh Sausage. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
You make every day feel like it's Christmas.
There you go, Chase. I like you picked up the beat of the Christmas music. All right, we'll get right to the Yellowwood Hotlines with ESPN 106.7 The Drive down in Auburn. Opelika every weekday 4 to 6. Bill Cameron. Good morning, Bill. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fine, guys. Sorry, I missed getting a chance to see everybody. We couldn't make it over Sunday, and I'm really bummed that wasn't there for the tribute to Sonny.
Yeah. I was there and looked for you, but I couldn't find you.
Well, it's because we had our 2.5-year-old granddaughter, and we're trying to save her energy up enough to be able to go to the Christmas parade on Sunday afternoon. So she was better at church and then resting a little bit before the Christmas parade.
I asked Sonny last night. He called me to thank me, and I said, "What'd they give you?" He said, "They gave me something, but I don't know what it was."
A check?
No, it wasn't no cotton picking check. They made him honorary something or something. I don't know what it was, but he looked like he was in right field without a glove. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's got to be an overwhelming sort of thing. But he deserved it. I'm glad they did it again. I'm really disappointed that I wasn't able to be there.
All right, good. We're talking with Bill Cameron. Bill, I hear a mean rumor out there that the Auburn people were celebrating that Alabama did not make the playoffs. That could not be true, right? They weren't celebrating.
I was there when it happened.
They weren't Were they chanting SMU?
Yep.
In Neville, well, you weren't there, but are they excited?
I was. I saw it.
That's mean. That's mean, Bill.
They put the bracket on the screen.
And did they cheer?
Uh-huh.
Did y'all?
The guy put his bracket up there and put it on the screen.
I think there was some. I think there was some SMU. I thought there was a little SMU. That watching the replay, I thought I heard that a little bit. Hey, look, it's been a rough last few years in football for Auburn. There's no question.
They didn't roll Toomer's corner because Alabama didn't make the playoffs, did they? They didn't go that far, did they, Bill?
Like I said, the Christmas parade was there, and we were around the corner, so I didn't see a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little that got tossed up in there.
All right, Auburn football, it has been tough. It's been a tough few years. Are they going to be able to hold on to what they got? It looks like the recruiting, they signed pretty much everybody that they wanted. Pretty much they're looking in the portal, I guess, for a quarterback. They're just kind of talk about where Auburn football stands right now.
Yeah, they're definitely they need two quarterbacks in the portal since Hank Brown has gone in along with Holden Gerner. Signing day last Wednesday was sort of like kids that had shaken the boxes and had a pretty good idea what was in there. Auburn added one player that had committed to Tennessee and a defensive lineman, but they didn't get a couple of other players that they were hoping to get. Naeem offered the defensive back from Parker, and there were the running back Usmani Chroma, who ended up flipping away from Georgia and went to Florida State. But I mean, they held on to the rest of the players. There was one defensive back who had been committed to Auburn who went to Florida State, but they ended up with a good class. I mean, a consensus top 10 class. I think it's number 6 according to 24/7, which does a composite. So solid class, and they got players at just about every position. But they definitely are going to have to hit the portal hard, and you can see a difference in the way Auburn's approached the portal this year than they have in the past. They have 4 players on visit today, including Malik Murphy, the quarterback from Duke, and Eric Singleton, the receiver from Georgia Tech, who Auburn I think finished second on when he decided to go to Georgia Tech. But he's had a couple of outstanding years. Murphy, of course, threw for about 3,000 yards this year, leading Duke to 9 wins. Tomorrow, Jackson Arnold, the former Oklahoma quarterback, is coming in. I think they've got 5 more players visiting tomorrow. So, last year, Auburn sort of took the approach that they had in high school recruiting, and we're looking to get players in last. Well, you can't count on being last. First, maybe last in the portal, because these guys have a pretty good idea of what they're looking for. So they're looking for help at a few positions. I mean, obviously offensive line, especially offensive tackle, but quarterback is the biggest need, because they only have 2 quarterbacks on their roster right now, and that's Walker White, who was a true freshman this year, and Deuce Knight, who just signed last week.
Yeah.
This goes along with what you're saying. John Cohen, I visited with him. He's been a friend a long time because he's got Tuscaloosa background.
Right.
Are they behind the scenes? Are they getting the kind of money? This thing is going to be a mess if they don't get a quarterback that can play.
Yeah, you're right.
They made the mistake of saying we like what we have. Well, that was incorrect.
they shouldn't have liked what they had.
Well, sure. In hindsight, they should have added. They should have added somebody.
I know that. This is just a radio show. I like Hugh Frank. I'm fine with them. But is it to the point where the money people are willing to turn it loose to get it corrected, or are they holding it back to change coaches, or do you know?
Well, from everything I've heard, the money's not a problem as they head into the portal this year. But you're absolutely right. I mean, they've got to get the right guy or the right combination that can pull the trigger and be the man at quarterback. That is an absolute key. Boy, if you ever had to hit on the right one, and I don't know who out there right now anybody would just say, well, you plug him in and you're automatically going to be an 8 or 9 win team and have a chance to win more. So the pressure is really on. Like I said, I mean, they've got a couple of big names. Murphy's a little different. He's had a breakout season this year with nearly 3,000 yards passing. But is he a guy that really fits the kind of offense that Hugh Freeze wants? Jackson Arnold's more a guy who is a dual threat, as Alabama saw when he ran for 130 yards against them. So I mean, they need to know who the right man is, and they need to get him.
Well, you end up with 5 straight home games, 4 or 5, and we don't have to go through everything for next year now. I understand, but is the schedule conducive to winning?
Well, I mean, got Georgia and Alabama at home, and that's usually a good sign. I mean, the teams that Auburn played this year, I mean, look, they lost to 4, 6, and 6 teams. So, it shouldn't be the most difficult schedule that anybody has. You're going to play the same teams you played this year. The difficult thing is, right off the bat, Auburn's going to open the season at Baylor. So they can't mess around and not know what they have when they open the season going out to Texas. So I guess we'll find out the date today, right? Today's the day the SEC is going to announce when you play other conference teams.
Yeah, I think we know who you play. Just when is, and that's a big factor, obviously. Just how games line up. Bill, we're talking with Bill Cameron with ESPN 106.7 The Drive. I opened the show with this question, and you would be a good one to answer. Do you think that Greg Sankey in the SEC, I'll leave the Bama fans out of it because I think they have gotten to the point where we feel like we're entitled, the SEC is entitled to get 4 teams in no matter what. They didn't deserve 4 teams in. Alabama, the committee gave them every opportunity. They wanted to put them in so bad, and then when they laid the egg in Oklahoma, then they go back to the loss at Vanderbilt, those good wins kind of went away. And then when that game happened in Charlotte with SMU losing at the last second, you still had to keep those guys in. I think that Sankey and the SEC and even Alabama saying, well, we need to relook at our schedules. Maybe we don't need a schedule. Schedule is tough. Instead of just looking in the mirror and saying, we didn't do our job to get 4 teams in this year. That's the way I see it. How do you see it?
No, I agree with you, Barry. I mean, you look at it, and the only 3-loss team that's in the playoff is Clemson. They won the ACC.
That's right.
So I think they got it right. But, I mean, what you look at is this year, of course, the committees seem to change not only from year to year, but from week to week as to what their criteria is. It would be a whole lot better, I think, for everyone who's watching it if they really knew from the outset what it's going to be. Is it going to be just based on wins and losses? Is it going to be strength of schedule? Is it going to be who you lost to, who you beat, what in there? Look, there are going to have to be changes, and I think the first change is going to be a really simple change. I think we've got to do it like basketball, that conference champions are going to get they're automatically going to be in the field, but you don't have to put them 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's crazy when you look up there and you see Boise and Arizona State are the 3 and 4 seeds, and the teams that are the 3rd and 4th best in the country are dropped to 5 and 6, and so forth. I mean, dropping everybody down a notch. So that's got to change. But I think we're, we know we got one more year of this 12 team. I think we're going to jump to at least 14 pretty quickly. And if you can get to, I still think 16 makes more sense if you're going to go ahead and expand it. If you get to 16, then I think there's a way of guaranteeing 4 teams from the SEC and from the Big Ten, and just seed teams, the way they should be, and don't give them those automatic top 4 spots.
Yeah, that.
Well, for one of the problems is that we have too many on the committee. I think we need to, we have them coming from all different directions, and I think we'd be better off going to a coaches committee who are less biased and not quite worried about the money quite as much as the ADs are that are on the committee. So I think the committee is too big. I wouldn't be surprised. Is it possible to change that thing for next year and go to 14?
I think they could adjust the 12 team, Wimp. I think the contract they've got is going to be tough to expand it to 14, but I think you can adjust some of the things with the 12. We'll see. I guess nothing's out of the realm of possibility. I guess it just depends on how much screaming there is after the ball games. There's already plenty of noise right now, and if some crazy things happen, and I sure wouldn't be surprised the way this year's gone. I wouldn't be surprised to see more changes, but I think it's tougher to go ahead and make it change from 12 after just 1 year.
Yeah, I think Oregon has the gripe. I mean, they played all year. Kidding. They're 13-0, and they got a bad draw. They got to sit there and play probably Ohio State or Tennessee in the second round. So they are the ones where the seeding, you penalize those teams. I don't think that was thought through very well, Bill, when they set this thing up. I know they had to get everybody on board, but some huge mistakes in the process and how this format was set.
Oh yeah, I mean the draw is much tougher for Oregon. I mean, look at Penn State. Penn State gets to host SMU at home. If they win that, they go to Phoenix to take on Boise. Yeah, that's a whole lot easier. So yeah, that's why it for sure at least needs to be seeded better. And it's also going to be interesting to see how bad the weather is for all these games that are going to be played up north.
That's why I hear these people say, well, we just don't need to play anybody out of conference anymore. Well, what if the criteria changes, the strength of schedule is a humongous factor, it's the number one factor, then you're going to be sitting there scratching your head. So I think you leave the schedules alone, let this thing play out a little bit, and then maybe adjust. But I wouldn't panic after the first year. I think everybody knows the format is wrong, and once they get it fixed, I don't think you want to change your schedule. You almost that brings me back to my entitled word. Like, we didn't get who we wanted in, so we're gonna change the schedule. We're not gonna play this tough team. It's almost like you're crying about it. Just leave everything alone, get better. And it was set up to get 4 teams in. We just the league didn't handle their business, Bill.
No, you're right. And name me a team that got left out because of their non-conference schedule. There wasn't one. But I mean, that's the point was, look, we just got to do whatever we can to avoid having more losses. And the only thing that says to me is that there's no reason for any coach or administrator now to vote to go to a 9-game SEC schedule.
Yeah, I think if anything, Tennessee has a gripe about the seeding. Them getting a 9, Ohio State a 8. The SEC probably deserved to have a home game there with Tennessee. So I think the seeding, even
Georgia's better.
Even Clemson, being ranked 12 and SMU 11, just flip those two. Now you got Texas playing SMU.
Yeah, you're right.
How do you even justify that? They just played, and so why
beat them head to head?
Yeah,
right.
So it just seems like right there, that little flip right there would have made it a little bit better. You'd had SMU taking on Texas. I think that'd have been a pretty tough ticket in Austin, don't you think, Bill?
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, no kidding. That would have been a lot of fun. I mean, I guess the one closest to that, Indiana Notre Dame, to get things started.
Yeah, that's on that Friday night. Well, Bill, we appreciate it as always. Tell everybody where they can find you and get all your great stuff.
Yeah, it's the Drive on ESPN 106.7 every afternoon from 4 to 6. You can check us online at either ESPNAU.com, or go to radioalabama.net. Listen live, or you can check out the podcast afterward, wherever you get your podcast.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
All right, let's tell them about Bryant Bank, and then we'll get to break.
Bryant Bank is a bank that looks after the people that come in and open up accounts, but they also look after the community. They do a good job of trying to help the schools. They'll do a good job with your bank account. They'll be darn sure that you can bank online around the clock, that the money that you put in there will be secure, and that you won't have any problem losing anything or bad checks coming in there or some kind of problem, because they absolutely watch everything that goes on. They're a big bank, but they're a small enough bank to take care of you. So go by Bryant Bank, tell them that you heard on Inside the Locker Room, and I think that you'll find that they're exactly what I say they are, and tell them that you heard it on our show and that you want to open up an account.
All right, we'll get to break. We got Philip and Cowboy Holden. Got a few lines open, 205-342-9904. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're pretty much moving on Easy Street right now as we are looking at very, very minimal delays. The construction, of course, is ongoing, but that's not even an issue. 2059 eastbound between Joe Malisham and 69, moving right along inside that construction zone.
Venue houses the brand new Southern Comfort Food Company. It also houses Finney's Pub, Ramajamas, Liza's Sweet Shop and Pizzeria, and you can learn more at venuetuscaloosa.com.
The weather breezy and colder today, becoming partly to mostly sunny, the high 49. Mostly clear tonight, a freeze likely, the low 29. Tomorrow and Friday, lots of sunshine both days. The high tomorrow 51, the high Friday 56. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
It's 41 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The best station in the state, breaking down Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire
Welcome back to
is so
Inside the Locker
delightful.
on 3 Sports. Crazy when you read stuff like this. South Carolina Edge, he's a freshman. Dylan Stewart has agreed to a new deal to stay with the Gamecocks for 2025 season. The true freshman is expected to receive between $1 million to $1.5 million per at Pete Nakos. Are you kidding me?
Which one? Who is that now?
It's an edge rusher for South Carolina. He's a freshman, a good player. They were afraid he's going to leave, so he agreed to a new deal. It's like Lane Kiffin was talking about. You know, he said, here you are trying to get ready for the bowl game, and your players are like free agents. Can you imagine an NFL team, they're getting ready to play the playoffs, and their players are negotiating with other teams? Like, can we let the season get over? The timeline and everything is bad. All right, get to the Yellowwood hotline, get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Morning.
Well, good morning. Well, you know, Josh Pate said back in the summer that he said that all this stuff going on with college sports right now with the portaling and the NIL and the collectives and all that, he said back in the summer it's going to get worse before it gets better. I would just love to know what part of the spectrum we're on right now, because it sounds like it's at probably the highest point of the worst point that you can get.
Yeah. You're just
you get paid or you don't play.
Yeah, you're in a tough spot.
Barry, I wanted to, if I could, Barry, I mainly called about the AJ Desponte. How do you pronounce the guy's last name? That's such a disturbing story if what you hear is true. And again, he's part of the problem, and his dad is, if what we've heard is true. If he knew 3 weeks ago, if he signed 3 weeks ago with BYU, that puts it around the 19th or 20th of November.
Yes.
Alabama was involved in the Eras tournament in Las Vegas on the 26th, around that time frame. And Oates and some of the players even went to one of his games that was out there.
Yes.
And then, to top it off, Alabama played at North Carolina on December the 4th, and that dad was at the game. So either, I don't know if the dad knew that he had signed and still showed up acting like they were interested in North Carolina and Alabama. You know, that's such you talk about a half a turd.
Yeah, well, he knew because parents have to sign on kids that age. So he definitely knew. Jeff Goodman, who I respect, Jeff Goodman is well connected in college basketball, said the kid signed 3 weeks ago. So people are using money to still go and see the kid and recruit him. Now, Alabama happened to be in Vegas, so it wasn't a humongous expense, but I can assure you that Nate Oates and Coach Murphy and even the players didn't want to waste their time going over to watch a guy that's going to BYU. And so people are kind of criticizing the Mormons and doing all the right things, but not reporting this kid had already signed is a bad look for BYU.
It is. It's a bad look for the character of that dad mainly. It tells you a lot about BYU, but it's just pretty bad. It's a crappy thing. It makes you just want to cut the TV off.
Well, I think the kid wanted to get on First Take and be able to make his announcement, so it's all about me. So I'm sure that's why they held it so he could have his day in the sun. He could have been on First Take 3 weeks ago if that's the way he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm done with Alabama football. I'm going to give them a break. But I guess what Alabama should do, you can take out one of these laminated 2024 SEC football schedule that people will get at their offices and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And, Coach and Mr. Byrne, he just got to look at Tennessee. And what you got to do is schedule Kent State, Chattanooga, NC State, and UTEP. But here's the key thing. Do not lose more than 2 conference games.
Yeah. Well, don't lose to people you should beat.
That's true.
So thank you, Philip.
Don't do that.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank y'all.
All right, back to the Yellowwood Hotline. What's up, Cowboy?
Hey, I thought you guys said I was next, and then Philip got ahead of me.
Well, Philip was holding prior to the top of the hour break, so he had already called in and held. So we told him as soon as he called back, we would take him first. So he was holding at 7:50 something. So that's why I did that. Don't be getting sensitive on me, Cowboy. I would never.
Get on him, Cowboy. You're exactly right.
I would never dish you, Cowboy. But Philip had called, and Chase can attest to this. He was on hold at the end of the 8 o'clock hour, and Digger went long. So then I had to let Philip go because we had to get to Justin Troll and talk about those Toyota Tundras. So
I got it. Yeah. All right. Well, something I was thinking about. I got a couple of things here. I was watching that game last night, Miami and Tennessee. Yeah. I was impressed with Brody Crowell's nephew.
Yeah,
Rick Barnes has made a player out of him.
He's from Jacksonville.
Did
you see that alley-oop he caught?
Oh, that was awesome. That was Jam City, as Jimmy Taylor would used to say. Jam. Peanut butter, however Jimmy said it. But I thought I thought they really made a player out of him. But I got another observation. Now, Coach, don't take any offense to this or Barry, but, I think, Coach, your program was a lot like Jim Lariano's is now at Miami. Do you know Jim? I mean,
I do know him real well.
He knocked on the door a lot. He's knocked on the lot. He got in once or twice, but y'all kind of got the same kind of players and everything. What do y'all think about that?
The same kind of players? I don't think so. But we knocked on a bunch of doors, and if that's what you're trying to say, we knocked on the door more than any team in Alabama. We didn't get in. Same players. I don't understand that. I don't understand that.
It kind of seems similar somewhat. I mean, you were a great coach. He's done a great job there at Miami. I would think.
Well, he's got. You have to understand now. He's got one guy giving him a lot of money. Larry Nega didn't get out. He didn't get out there and get that by himself. He had one guy gave him football and basketball money, a lot of money. and he carried it over. And he didn't get those players for anything except a lot of money.
Well, I heard his basketball money's kind of dried up now that they're giving it to football.
Having gotten beat some, the guy may have dried him up some. But to start off with, he probably got more money in basketball than anybody in the nation to start off with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I got you. Well, I don't know. I was just thinking maybe, y'all both had good players, and that guy he found there that was playing with Akeem Olajuwon's son looked like a pretty good player.
Well, I've already figured out that I got to the door and didn't get in. So you don't have to tell me that. I already knew it.
No. What I mean is he, I don't know. I just kind of seems like the teams seem similar. What do you think, Barry?
I think Miami's team's not very good this year. Now, the one that went to the Final Four, he got some great guards, and that's right, he got them out of the portal because he bought them there, and they led him to the Final Four. So good for him. But he hasn't been able to sustain it, And this year's team has not done very well. So I don't know that he had quite the players consistently.
Maybe that's a bad analogy.
The only thing we were doing, Cowboys, is I was having Coach Bryant call all the prospects and tell them that we wanted basketball along with football.
Yeah.
They're still trying to catch up in football, too. So, anyway. All right, Cowboy, you're talking about...
Hey, I got one other thing. Looks like the Mississippi State quarterback got his year of AAA baseball at Mississippi State. Now he's probably going to go back to Oregon because he had been committed to Oregon. And then he came to State.
The starting quarterback for State?
Yeah, he's in the portal.
Yeah, he's in the portal. I told that.
Yeah, I think I heard State was going to get the guy from Oklahoma because Jeff Lebby obviously coached him at Oklahoma, but who knows? Somebody says he's visiting Auburn.
But that State quarterback, that Van Buren, he's got a lot of potential.
Yeah. I don't know. State's going to have to hit the portal. They're going to have to hit the portal. They're not going to be able to do it a high school route, and so we'll see what they can get. Thank you, Cowboy. And
all right, thanks, guys.
Cowboy's talking about Cade Phillips from Jacksonville, Alabama. He's averaging right at 8 points a game as a sophomore there at Tennessee, so I think he's doing better at Tennessee than people expected. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care, for a Thursday edition of the program. That means it's time for recruiting news with Xavier. We'll break down Alabama class a week later. We'll begin the conversation around where they go in the portal. We'll also continue the conversation from this week regarding Alabama's transfer portal, its coaching staff, and a whole lot more. The Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're pretty much moving on Easy Street right now as we are looking at very, very minimal delays. The construction, of course, is ongoing, but that's not even an issue. 2059 eastbound between Joe Malisham and 69, moving right along inside that construction zone. And
¿Qué clase? Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. BABBEL.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather breezy and colder today, becoming partly to mostly sunny, the high 49. Mostly clear tonight, a freeze likely, the low 29. Tomorrow and Friday, lots of sunshine both days. The high tomorrow 51, the high Friday 56. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 41 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion, Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
That's it for today's show. We appreciate all the phone calls, the app messages. Be back tomorrow, bright and early. Tom Hart will join us at 7:30. I'm sorry, Tom Hart's at 8:15. JC at 7:30. So great show lined up for you tomorrow. The Gary Harris Show is next. So keep it locked in. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.